All right, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to Forward Thinking Founders. This is a podcast where we talk to founders about the future, their vision, and how the two collide. Today, my guest is Jonathan Liu, who is the founder of Cupidly and XYC. Welcome to the show, Jonathan. How are you doing?
Uh, Doing great. Glad to be here.
Yeah, excited to have you on. Let's start with the latter half of the intro there. What does XYC mean?
What does XYC mean? Well, I actually did YC in F24 batch, but I have since left my company. So XYC means I used to do YC. I used to be a co-founder of YC company, but now I'm no longer part of it.
Is that uh do you kind of like get access to anything anymore because you're not part of that company? You don't have Bookface? Do you go to communities? Or are you totally just like not a YC founder, at least according to them, anymore?
So when you leave your company, you still stay a part of the YC community. You still have access to Bookface. I'm kind of a unique case because I actually got kind of kicked out a little bit. I got blocked by Gary Tan on Twitter, and also my Bookface access was removed. And I tried to visit the YC office once, and I wasn't allowed inside the physical building. So not only am I an ex-YC founder, but I'm also kind of banned from YC.
You know, you probably weren't expecting this, but I can relate. Not from YC, but from actually the launch accelerator. So I was backed by Jason Calacanis in 2019 through the launch accelerator, and I had nothing but good things to say about Jason. Nothing but good things. But I had a co-founder, and I'll keep the details light. But Jason didn't love, or I'll just say, our behavior sometimes. And our behavior at one point in the accelerator, actually right after the accelerator, got him to a point where he's like, "You guys aren't serious, kicking you out." So he kicked us out of Slack, kicked us out of everything. I get it. I'm not trying to throw my business partner under the bus, but we're a team, and we did things as a team that he didn't like. So we are also kicked out of launch. We can't go to their events, can't join their Slack. What can you do? Live and move on, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad you can relate.
Totally. Okay, so Cupidly. Tell us a bit about that. What is Cupidly?
Yeah, so Cupidly is an AI agent that swipes for you on Hinge. So basically, you enter your type, and then it goes and searches Hinge for people who fit your type, and then it shows you six people at a time who fit your type, so you can send them a like directly without having to swipe.
So don't give away your secrets, but I'm curious how this actually like works. Is this something where you integrate with their API of some sort, or is this doable just based off of code that you build? Like, how do you even do this? And it's like, I guess my second question, if you don't want to go into any of the details, which is fine, like. Like, is this something that is being used right now? Does it work? This sounds kind of genius. Like, I guess let me double click on this. Like, tell me a little bit more.
Yeah, so in order to make this work, I had to reverse engineer the Hinge API. So it's not using any sort of emulator stuff. I figured out how to reverse engineer the private Hinge API, and that's what I'm using. And yeah, I launched about 4 weeks ago now. And within the first 24 hours of launch, my launch video went very viral, 1.4 million views on Twitter, and I hit 1K MRR within those 24 hours. Since then, there's been a lot of churn, obviously, just people trying it out. But currently, I am at 1.7K MRR.
Congrats. That's money right there.
Thank you.
So, is this something that only works on Hinge? I'm able to, let's say I'm single. I'm not. I'm happily married. Let's say go back 10 years. Let's say I'm
Yeah.
single. I'm able to use this on. Can I use it on Twitter? Can I use it like on other platforms, or is it Hinge specific for now?
Yeah, so right now I wanted to start with Hinge because Hinge is the one that I'm most familiar with and the one that I use personally. And I think whenever I want to work on a project, I always solve my own problem, right? I'm always out to solve problems for myself because I think it makes me inherently more motivated to work on them, and I have much more founder market fit. So that's what I started with. Obviously, I think in the future I'll probably expand to other dating apps, but as of right now, just Hinge.
So let me back up a little bit. You reverse engineered their API, if I'm saying that correctly. You must be technical. You must be fairly smart to just like be like in this world. Like, how did you find yourself, in tech? Did this company that maybe you got into YC with, was that your first foray into tech? Like, walk me through your entry to this industry.
Yeah, sure. So I taught myself to code back when I was 12 years old. So there's this video game I was playing called Team Fortress 2, and I really wanted to make maps for the video game. Maps are basically like levels. And in order to make maps for the video game, I had to learn this really complicated piece of software called Hammer. And I was like, this thing is super complicated to learn, super complicated to make my own map using this software. What if there was an easier way? So back then, I always wanted to solve my own problems, and I thought the best way to do that was to learn to code and to create something that made it real easy. So back then, I was working with my friend. We taught ourselves Python, and we made something called the Easy TF2 Mapper that allowed you to create maps really easily for this video game. We launched it, got several users, and I guess that was my entry point to tech. Back when I was 12 years old, I was just hacking on some software to solve my own problems.
And I remember distinctly when I was in the entrepreneur world. At first, I was like a singer-songwriter,
Oh,
and then I transitioned. I wasn't good. I was good at guitar, not a good singer.
okay.
But when I discovered tech, I remember distinctively when I learned about this brand called Andreessen Horowitz, and when I heard about Y Combinator, and I started to go down the rabbit hole. Did you? It sounds like you got like to tech, but not necessarily like startup specifically through this act of tinkering. How did you kind of find yourself in the world of startups, or how much longer did that? How much time lasted between getting into tech and tinkering versus actually getting into startups as a whole?
Yeah, so after that first project that I made, I had a lot of fun. I learned that I really love to code. Coding became like my main hobby in life after that. So I just kept on building stuff. In high school, I think I discovered hackathons. So I started to go into a bunch of hackathons, learned a lot from these hackathons. Every time I went to a hackathon, I always aimed to learn something new. And it was only really when I won first place at a hackathon in senior year of high school that I started getting this entrepreneurship fever. I started really getting into startups because after we won first place for this real-time lecture feedback tool for professors, me and my teammates, we were like, wait, what if we turn this into an actual company? We're getting lots of validation from not only the judges, but a bunch of people who came up to us after the hackathon who wanted to invest in us. So that was when I started realizing that there might be a different path than just getting a big tech job at Google.
Totally. And I have to ask, if you remember, for that hackathon, was that powered by Major League Hacking by chance?
It actually was not. It was the Developer Week hackathon in SF.
Got it. Yeah, I only asked because I had what's his name, Swift. I had Swift on for Major League Hacking on the podcast like 4 years ago,
Oh, no way.
and left a fun impression. So yeah, that's why I asked. Okay, cool. So you win this hackathon, you get exposed to this world a little bit. Where is the company that you won the hackathon with? Is that the company you ended up getting into YC with? Is it? Yeah, you like help me. Yeah, fill in the gaps there.
Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, obviously, first time founders, we made all the first time founder mistakes. And I think it eventually died because we just didn't have consistent weekly meetings. This was like right when COVID was hitting too. So without any consistent weekly meetings, people just kind of started doing other stuff. So I think that one we just kind of gave up on over time. Then I worked on another thing called Assign Hub, which was a crowdsourced assignment planner for college students because I was just entering college. I needed some way to manage all my assignments, right? That failed because I think in the end it was just a solution in search of a problem. I created something because I thought it'd be cool, but no one really needed it. When I tested it out, could get a lot of people to sign up, but nobody would use it past the first day. Then I think finally the third thing I ended up making actually saw some real traction. And the third thing I ended up making was called Sketch at the time. I've since rebranded to Timeful, but it was a scheduling website that helps groups find a time to meet. So you have a bunch of college students with different varying schedules, class schedules, whatever. and you need to align on a time to meet for group projects, for example. You just enter your availability in this website, and it tells you when everybody's availabilities overlap. So that's what I launched. There are a lot of other platforms out there, but I aim to create the best one, and that was the one that seriously started getting traction. Um, that started getting traction. Actually applied to YC 2 separate times with that. Never even got an interview. Because I think it's just not the sort of venture scalable business they're looking for, right? Like I can make good money for myself, or at least some money for myself, but it won't become a $1 billion company. So that was the first thing I made that actually had some success. I'm still running it. Currently has around 190,000 monthly active users, and I'm making around $1,000 a month from it. But basically passive income right now. But the thing I actually got into YC with was a prompt to animation API that I built. Basically, you enter a prompt, generated an animation, and then streamed it back to your browser in real time. And we wanted to make this sort of AI tutor thing out of it. That was what we got in for. Obviously, during YC, we pivoted a bunch. And eventually, I ended up leaving because nothing was working, and I wanted to go back to bootstrapping.
Ooh, I was gonna ask a different line of questioning, but that last statement is interesting. You wanted to go back to bootstrapping.
Yes.
What about not bootstrapping? What wasn't fun? Or in other words, like what prompted you to go back, and maybe would you say you prefer bootstrapping now over the venture funded route? Like giving some color there.
Yeah, 100%. I think what I realized through doing YC is that when you raise money from VCs, right? Your purpose in creating your startup is to return their investment. You're supposed to become a $1 billion company so that the investors make money, which kind of limits the scope of ideas you're even allowed to work on. You can't work on these small ideas that are really fun and make you some money and can maybe get you to around $1 to $2 million in ARR. Because that's not what investors are looking for. Investors are looking for ideas that can get to 100 million ARR and require you to like hire a big team. But I just want to be a solo entrepreneur. I just want to be a solo entrepreneur that works on fun little projects that make money and have fun in life, not hire any big team or anything. So I think the ideas I was just interested in working on don't align with those ideas that need to be venture backed.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and I think that's all accurate. So changing the tune a little bit, I think that we wouldn't be on this podcast. I wouldn't know who you were if it weren't for a little site called X. How walk me through, when did you get on X, and what's been your experience on it so far since you've been on?
Yeah. I mean, right now I think I have an X addiction. It's really bad. I scroll way too much. I get too much dopamine from seeing that little notification bell go up in numbers. But I only really started getting into X back in May of this year. So about like 3 months ago. Before then, I think I created my account in May 2022 just because my friends told me to, but I never posted. Never posted until I seriously got into it in May, and that's when I left my YC company. And that's when I made a big viral post about me leaving my YC company, and I got like 300,000 views. And then ever since then, I've been trying to build my Twitter brand, posting on Twitter every single day to just build a brand, build my personal brand, get distribution, because I think Twitter is let your thoughts be heard across the tech community specifically. So yeah, have experienced a lot of growth in the last few months because of that, and I think it's been fun.
Yeah, I can account. Essentially, I can point to Twitter for a lot of my wins in my career in tech specifically. Like I live in Phoenix, Arizona, and this is not really known to be like a great tech culture. But I can open up my computer and share my thoughts on Twitter and build a network of people that don't live here, people that live in the Bay Area in New York, and it kind of feels like two worlds a little bit. I shut my computer and somewhere else, and I open my computer, open Twitter, and I'm like in Silicon Valley in some ways. So I think it's fairly powerful. So I have a question. I don't know if it's going to be triggering or not, but I see it's like it's all over your timeline. So I'm just like I have to ask, like
Yes.
who is Eunice? Like what is like what is like help me understand what's going on. Is that a friend? Is it a girlfriend? Is it a business partner? Is it like she not even exist? Like what's Eunice?
What is Eunice? Yes, this is a big, deep question with a lot of nuance. So Eunice is a girl on Twitter who has recently blown up. I think she went from a few hundred to 8,000 followers in the span of 3 weeks or something crazy. So she experienced a lot of growth really quickly, and she developed her brand around being a girl on Twitter, right? First of all, like posting selfies of herself, and also posting her Hinge screenshots on Twitter to market her previous startup, which was called Series. So she kept on going viral for posting her Hinge screenshots. So I was like, okay, if I'm making this Hinge auto swiper thing, what could be the most viral thing I could do? Oh, I could use my own platform to find Eunice on Hinge and match with her. So that's what I did, and that's why it ended up going so viral like it did.
That's hilarious. Wow, I know it's like I knew there was something because it was like all this noise on Twitter about it. But that's hilarious that you saw that opportunity. Like, is that have you always seen maybe opportunities when they present themselves like that feels like something that a lot of people could miss, but tech is about seeing opportunity than making something happen with it. Obviously that's kind of a silly growth example, but there's plenty of others too that are less silly or even more silly. Like how do you I don't know, how do you see things like that?
Yeah, I think I've learned a lot through talking to Roy Lee, because Roy Lee I've known for a bit because we started like following each other on LinkedIn, then Twitter in the early days before he went mega viral. And I've talked to him extensively, at least when I saw him in person, and he taught me a lot about how to go viral. And one of the things he said was to brainstorm the viral launch of your products before you even build the products. So figure out the distribution parts before you build the product, because distribution nowadays is really the only mode, right? It's becoming easier and easier to build stuff. So you need to know how to distribute your products and get it in front of people's eyes. So I think after hearing that from him, it really led me to start noticing these sort of opportunities to go viral. And I think it only really started then when I started to look for opportunities to go viral, because before then I always made the mistake of just heads down, build the products before launching. Because I come from a tech background, right? I always just wanted to build the thing instead of thinking about distribution. So taking a different mindset from a distribution first perspective really shifted, I think, how I thought about things.
If someone's like listening to this podcast or this show and they want to go viral, what is one tip? Of course, there's more than one thing needed to get done, but what is one thing someone should consider outside of what you've already shared to go viral for their product launch?
Yeah, I think in order to go viral, you need to have a viral sense. And obviously that's like a very kind of a cop out answer, but I think through being on Twitter, being terminally online, you start to develop a sense for what goes viral, right? You'll see some posts do really well, and you're like, oh, why did that do well? Oh, it must have been because of this one thing that I said that was controversial. But yeah, develop some sort of viral sense. I think in general, what I've noticed is stuff that's really controversial goes viral inherently, because people like argue with you in the comments. People repost your stuff, saying, "Oh, this guy is weird. This guy's unhinged for making this thing that swipes for you on Hinge, whatever." So just being controversial and developing a viral sense is I think the biggest tip I have.
It's true. I used to be a lot more controversial around like venture capital. One of the things actually align with you on is I've been in tech for about a decade, and probably in 2019 when I started Seed Scout, which is my last company, I'm like I'm gonna just blow up. I'm gonna blow up VC. At the time, 5 years ago, I'm just like I'm gonna disrupt venture capital. I was like that guy, right? And of course that's I think that's the wrong framing in hindsight. But I tweeted like I was going to do that. And I got known by a lot of people. Most of them were annoyed. Some of them were intrigued. But it kind of blew up my following. Now I have like 13,000 followers or something. And most of those came from 2020 to 2022 when I was just unhinged about blowing up venture, which is kind of funny because when I like am not posting controversial stuff or I'm just being myself, I get no followers. And it's like, maybe
Exactly.
that's maybe like there's a that like should it be like that? I don't know. But that is how it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think um, just inherently, like the human brain is wired to like the controversial stuff because when they see something controversial, when they see something that gets them riled up, it triggers some sort of core human emotion, right? So I think uh, because you're triggering that core human emotion, it makes people um, want to respond to the content a lot more than if it were just, I don't know, you posting about random stuff that
Totally,
relates to yourself.
totally. So what does the future look like for you? Like you're building a couple of things. Yeah, what's the plan? Maybe the next year or two. How do you see that playing out?
Yeah, I think my end goal is to uh, be the sort of bootstrap founder who works on a bunch of little things and eventually adds up the MRR to be a few million ARR every single year. I'm really inspired by people like Levels.io, Mark Liu, uh, and Jack Fricks. Those people who've had some success through building these little tiny startups and going viral on Twitter for them.
Do you, knowing what you know now about venture capital and the incentives, do you think there's a world where you would ever raise money for a company if you had the idea that aligned with the model, or are you just kind of turned off for good, at least based on what you can understand as of now?
Yeah, so I've thought a decent amount about this. I think one of the reasons why I don't like venture capital is because it kind of changes the name of the game, right? It doesn't necessarily become, oh, how do I create the best product for my customer anymore? It becomes, how do I structure my company and grow as fast as possible so that I can raise my next round of funding?
Yep.
And I've talked to like founding engineers at Series A startups, and like their founder, not to name names, their founder literally was optimizing for revenue growth as much as possible, even though the product sucked, so that they could get their numbers in a place that made it easy to raise their Series B. So it's like it kind of changes the name of the game a little bit, and I kind of don't want to play that game anymore. So that's why I kind of don't even want to consider ideas that are in that realm.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's especially now. I mean, you may be depending on when you got into tech and on Twitter, which I guess you said you got on May, so this may be your first cycle. But in 2021, things were really nuts. Money was flying off the shelves. People were
Reserve
raising on the
era, right?
stupidest things, and it kind of crashed very temporarily because here we are again. But I do think that it's all a cycle, and I think I agree with what you just said. I think that's always going to be like that to some extent, but I think right now it's a lot more that way than it will be in a year post crash. I think where a crash is coming, not a massive crash that'll blow everything up, but I think a correction is in order, which I think it wouldn't be a bad thing, to be honest.
Right, right, right. Makes sense.
Do you have any hobbies, or what do you outside of Twitter and building, like do you have any hobbies? Is there anything you think about do outside of this world?
Yeah, I think I in high school my main extracurricular was actually acting. I did musical theater throughout high school, and like singing, dancing, acting, that sort of stuff. So actually, last month I was in a feature film that was someone I knew was making, and they were like, "Hey, do you want to act?" I was like, "Sure." So that's also something that I do that I think I'm decently interested in. Other than that, I play guitar. I'm trying to learn fingerstyle now. I'm purely self-taught, so it's mainly just something I do in my free time. But I think playing guitar is fun. And other than that, just meeting other founders. I think it's always fun to meet other founders and talk about what they're building, what their main struggles are, and just learn from them.
That's awesome. With this film, how do you like get like scouted by a talent agent, or like how do you act in a major film?
Yeah, well, I will say, even though it's a feature film, it's more like an indie feature film, right?
Sure.
So it's not like some big studio, but I actually did um, a musical with these people before, so they knew me back when I was in high school. So they just invited me to act in their film because I already had that warm connection.
Yeah, that makes sense. And on the guitar front, yeah, I play. I learned off of YouTube back in 2007. I actually put a video on YouTube on how to play Stairway to Heaven. It was like a month after I learned it. It's a
Wow.
very bad video, but it was my first video I ever put on. It got like 100,000 views because YouTube
Wow,
was
no
so early.
way. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, it was. It's funny. I kind of have a knack for being early to see things by accident.
By accident.
But but yeah, I'm self learned too, and it's a lot of fun. Yeah, figure picking is fun. So yeah, keep it up.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, is there anything that you want the audience to know about you, or any maybe like parting words in relation to this podcast that you want to share before we call it a day?
Yeah, I guess if you want to follow along with my journey, my Twitter handle is Jonathan Zilu. And if you have trouble using dating apps and you hate swiping on dating apps, you should definitely check out Cupidly.io. I'm constantly pushing updates to make the platform as good as possible. And I think my greater overall vision is making a platform where you don't have to swipe anymore. You just sign up for the thing, and it sets you up on dates immediately.
Oh man, I have to ask a follow up around that.
Yeah.
Like, where do you think the future, like, let's fast forward 3 years, even 2 years of dating technology. Um, where do you see that, and how do you see Cupidly like playing a role? Because the way you framed that was very interesting.
Yeah, yeah. I think still the best way to meet people, obviously in person, right? Everybody wants to meet people in person. But um, if you can't meet people in person, if it's hard to meet people in person, then dating apps, at least currently, are like the best alternative way. So what I aim to do with Cupidly is just to make the dating app experience as optimized as possible, so you don't get stuck in this dopamine loop of swiping on these dating apps. So I'm taking advantage of a bad system and making it slightly more tolerable. And I think in the future, there have been a rise of like these apps or platforms like Ditto. I don't know if you've heard of it. That basically allow you to enter all your information, and then they set you up on dates. So there's no app. It's just a platform of people, and they just match make you.
That's wild, but I think that makes sense. Like I think that it's just like getting matched with people romantically, professionally, socially. Like I think that's going to be more important as time goes on. Cool. Well, Jonathan, thank you so much for coming on to the pod. As I told you before we started recording, I took like a very long break, and I have a bunch scheduled for the next week or two, but you were the first one to book. So
Perfect.
thanks for helping me break, break the ice of 2.0 here. And yeah, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, great talking with you, Matt.